Okay, guys, did you sleep well or do you have a sore head?
Sore head.
Nightmares.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's interesting when how we all can have our own capability, but within a group, it becomes less. The group process is always going to be heavier than the individual process. So what happens in confusion? What type of confusion was that? And within confusion, what do you do? Do you step in or do you step out? What's your own method, if you like, of working within that type of unconsciousness? Do you see? Do you become frustrated or do you become curious? What is the reaction in you? Now that's the process. That's what you got to find out. That's what you learn about. And some people work through their process, but they never get to know it.
Let's say that again.
Some people work through their process, but they never really get to know it. They release the tension. Do you know, they unblock the pipes, but they never really examine the shit. Do you see that is the mental work. That's the cognitive work, to examine the shit. Whereas to clear the pipe work, to clear the plumbing, that's more body work and emotional work. So from yesterday, what I could see was that this heaviness, all it is just a lack of knowing. Do you see? That's all it is. So it becomes very stuck and very difficult, and I don't like this. And do you see? It starts to become very, very heavy, like dragging a big sack of sand. Okay, so this lack of knowing is lack of experiencing, lack of practicing. Do you see? That's all it is. It's like, oh, I never read that book. I never walked in that place. Do you see? So we need to go there. We need to practice in order to gain the experience, in order to gain the knowing. And then we are stronger in our light. Do you see? And within our group, we have more of an affect. We're less dependent on others. Do you see? So that's all it is. So guys, in confusion, just step in or step out. What do you do?
Depends.
Yeah. And when the parent goes missing, do you know, what do you do when the parent goes missing? Or the parent becomes drunk? Do you see what happens? It's interesting, how some people have taken on that responsibility very early and they become adult children. You could say, very responsible children. And other people in that situation just close down. And again, that's our process. So this is where I want to begin from, if you like, today. So we're going to do a bit more practice, hopefully, but not just yet. I want to bring in a little bit more sort of teaching, if you like, direct teaching. So there's different methodologies. So you know, there's creative work, and there's more analytical work, and there's different areas of psychology, you know, spiritual psychology, more mainstream psychology, mental, you know, developmental psychology, as it might be called over here. So all these different areas of psychology, and they match up with zones of awareness. So in Gestalt, which is a form of psychodynamic work, Gestalt very clearly speaks of 3 zones of awareness. What happens outside of my skin? What happens underneath my skin? And the middle zone. Now, the outer, what happens outside of my skin is the world. And what happens inside of my skin is my feelings, my sensations. And what happens in the middle zone is more my imaginings, the workings of my mind, the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, the rules, everything that my mind throws up between the inner and the outer worlds. I want to shout out, but something stops me. Do you see? I want to do this, but something stops me. The middle zone, my mind, stops me. And Gestalt doesn't really go any further than that. That's it. Now, there's no zone of awareness from within that model for the transcendent. To find the transcendent, you've got to look more towards transpersonal psychology or depth psychology. You're not going to find the transcendent in developmental psychology. You know, developmental psychology is from the moment you're born forward. And it very much deals with the outer aspects of your life. So, you know, mainstream psychologists would be very much, you know, familiar with developmental psychology, but might actively close down somebody who wants to bring in more of a transcendent type of experience. You see, they might medicate against it. Okay, so what is the transcendent? And where does it occur? Well, it occurs anywhere. It can occur outside of you, or it can occur inside of you. You know, you could have a vision of a saint, or a light being, or a UFO. And what is that? Jung said that's a symbol of the self. A symbol that represents the highest development. So he says, you know, somebody who sees fairies, somebody who talks to nature spirits, they're communicating with a higher aspect of themselves, or a deeper aspect of themselves. Something that is beyond the person, the transpersonal. Do you see? So this transcendent, awareness of the transcendent, is awareness of the inner and deeper. It's because it's full of aliveness. If you touch the transcendent, like if you're walking home someday and you suddenly see a ghost, what happens? You know, you get all excited and you run home to tell people, oh, I just saw a ghost. It was great. And a week later, it's gone and you're onto something else. You're onto a different story. But if you're walking home and you meet God, well, you don't get over it in a week. You know, you'd be talking about that experience for the rest of your life. Okay, so what's the difference? It has vastly more energy. Do you see? So this is the energy of the unconscious, the energy of the interior, the energy of the exterior, the energy of life itself. So there's knowledge to do with all of these different areas, specific knowledge. There's knowledge of psychology. There's knowledge of things. A gardener has a certain area of knowledge. A doctor has different knowledge. A psychologist has different knowledge. You see, knowledge is very much information about the thing. The thing. Where do we find things in the world? So knowledge falls into that sort of outer zone of awareness. But then we also have knowledge of ourself, what I'm feeling. To see knowledge of my dynamics, how my energy is moving, my emotions are happening. Different type of knowledge. So we've knowledge of the outer zone and we've knowledge of the inner zone. And also I've knowledge of my mind, my shoulds and my shouldn'ts. So this knowledge thing is sort of crossing all of the boundaries. So it's more of a fluidic state. It's not so substantial as the thing itself. Do you see? It's like I've taken the thing inside of me and I've broken it down, and now I have knowledge of it. So one person's knowledge is going to be different than another person's knowledge. If I said to you guys, okay, I want you to look around the room, everybody look around the room and say the first thing that you see. Off you go. Just, what's the first thing that you see? Everybody, just look around the room.
The tree.
Yeah.
Arrow.
You could get 10 different things. Why is that? Why do we all see a different thing? Because we are organized. Something inside of me is choosing what I see. My mind is choosing. My dynamic chooses for me. I am being organized. Guys, can you see that? At a micro level. It's so smooth, I never notice it. I don't make choices. Choices are made inside of me. I arrive at a choice. Hang on till I make a decision. You know, what a ridiculous statement that I have just made. Who is the I? Do you see, who is that king on the throne on the top of the mountain who's saying, hang on till I make a decision? My process is deciding for me. So when I say that, hang on till I make the decision, I'm giving myself a position. Whereas if I recognized the presence of my own process and how it arrives, it suggests, it organizes, well, then maybe I would have a different position. I'd be more humble within myself. Do you see? So knowledge leads to awareness. Knowledge is like a bridge. It can lead me to awareness. If I look at the moon, what do I see? If you guys look at the moon, what do you see? Sunlight. Yep.
Does it mean that free will doesn't exist at all?
What do you think? Honestly, what do you reckon? What you know is important. Your knowledge is important. As you get to trust your own knowledge, what's actually happening? Like when I say, what do you think? Oh yeah, it's funny and all that, but honestly, what do you think?
Leaning towards no. No, I don't think so. Free will.
Yeah,
No.
okay. All we can ever speak from is our position, our knowledge. So do you attack somebody for not having knowledge? You know, do you make the alcoholic wrong? There's an interesting question. Do you look at the drug addict and judge him? Yeah, we all do. Of course we do. And even addicts judge addicts. Drug addicts are a lot lower in the hierarchy of addiction than drinkers in Ireland. If you're a drug addict, you're the lowest of the low. Whereas alcoholics are sort of a high class addict. It's crazy. And yet what I'm looking at is a process happening. Do you see? I'm always looking at a process happening. Okay, guys. So I'm saying yesterday and the day before that, and I'm saying again this morning, we need to bring awareness to our ordinary self. Okay, so what am I speaking about? Okay, when I talk about a floor of consciousness and a ceiling of consciousness, these are my words, my images. What am I speaking of? This sort of high point in me and this low point in me, the lower threshold of my consciousness where I become unconscious at the bottom. The high point in my consciousness where I reach my potential, where I begin to stand out from the crowd, where I show my expertise, where I'm using my ability, my practiced ability, playing the piano, playing the guitar, you know, the doctor doing surgery. Do you see? Not everybody can do that. So it's very egotistical. It's where I perform at my height. I'm standing up and I'm performing. I'm doing my best. Do you see? It's very male. Why do I say that? It's very male.
Because you stand up and do something.
Yes.
Yes.
So in a woman, what are the consequences of that in a woman? If a woman is always working towards her best, her height, what are the consequences of that in a woman, in female psychology? The maleness, it's coming forward. The animus is stepping forward. You're developing a skill. Do you see? It creates an ambition. Now, if the animus takes over, what then happens to the woman? Whereas if the woman is more working towards her ordinariness, what's the difference? There's no ambition outwards. There's no projection outwards. Do you see? There's no drive. Say again.
She gets run over.
She gets
Run over by the animals. It takes over.
yeah. If she's trying all the time towards achievement, do better. You know, up on my 2 feet and walk. Take 4 steps today. If that's the dynamic that's operating within the person, then they are striving towards their highest. Okay, now this is not black or white, okay? If the dynamic is more towards being yourself, immediately what happens to you sitting in the seat?
It feels good. More freedom.
Yeah. So if I say, I just want you to be yourself. But you see, that also has consequences. So now I'm asking you to bring awareness into your ordinariness. But what's that? What is my ordinariness? Well, it's where my mind's not focused, where I'm not really projecting my knowing outside of myself. I'm not trying to be a gardener. I'm not trying to be a doctor. I'm not trying to be a good cook. Do you say I'm just being the Swedish chef? Dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum. Do you see? I'm in my Muppet. Do you understand? This is just me as a Muppet. Here I am. I'm not trying to show you my mind or my skill or any of these things. It allows me to be present. It's more human. It's more down at the crowd level. It's like anybody out of the crowd could be ordinary. But the difficulty is that ordinariness comes with ordinary awareness. Yes.
Yeah, just to get it right, all of this is like the anima effect, and the approaching and achievements is animus. Or
Yes and no. The animus is the achiever.
yeah.
The animus in a woman is her mind. It's her spirit. It's her will. So it's the air quality. But it begins as a brute and it slowly develops, evolves as it becomes educated. So the way you lead the animus in a woman to its rightful position is through education. Because it's mind. If you can create an interest in itself, if you can get the animus interested in the animus, and once you have its attention like that, it becomes an ally rather than an enemy. It stops competing with you and it starts to look into itself. You've now outfoxed the fox. Now, in a male psychology, the dynamic is slightly different. So this height is where the man naturally stands up as a king, emperor, dictator. I can become very separated within my height. Whereas at my lowest point, as Jung said, I'm a fish among fishes or a frog amongst frogs. At my lowest point. But at my lowest point, my ego is less developed. At my highest point, my ego is very developed. You see, I'm projecting myself out into my ego, into the world. I'm as far away from my inside as I can be. Whereas at the lowest point in myself, I'm closer to the inside and I stand back from the world. Sure, I'm not a leader. I'm not trying to lead. I've no ambition. I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm just being my ordinary self. Guys, do you see the difference in the position? Okay.
But where does that leave the anima in the male?
Okay. The anima in the male is more it's where we find our path. It's the anima in the beginning is the master of illusion. She casts the spell and she entrances us and she dreams for us and she casts the dream over us. So we fall under her spell, we fall under her power, and we chase after this and that and the other. And in that way, she's educating us by getting us to touch this and to touch that and to taste this and here, drink this poison, but it won't kill you. You see, she'll do all these things, but she doesn't kill us. We'll fall down holes and we'll suffer for a lifetime, but we won't die because she's teaching us. She's teaching us to, it's like saying, no, the pot gold is not at the end of the rainbow. It's where you stand right now.
It's like chasing the dragon kind of thing.
Say again? She's
chasing the dragon. You know, you're almost there, you're almost there.
Yeah. But she actually is the dragon as well, because she is the energy of life. Now, from a Jungian perspective, you could also say the animus is logos and the anima is eros. One is the masculine principle and the other is the feminine principle. So the animus as logos lacks eros. It is the mountaintop. It lacks the valley. It is the sharpness on the blade, but it lacks the substance of the blade. Do you see, it has a penetrative ability, but it can break. Okay, so the animus looks for eros, but it doesn't look for eros necessarily from inside the woman. It looks for eros outside of the woman. Now, in its normal development, the animus remains inside the woman, and it supports the woman and enters a relationship with the woman. The woman enters a relationship with her own mind and brings heart to that. And she becomes a strong woman, a capable woman, but she is a woman first. When the woman is exposed to a danger, when the woman starts to be fed with images of a pathetic father. Okay, so where does a young girl get fed images of a pathetic father? Because she sees her father like a god. They can only come from an angry mother. So mother's disappointment with father. If mum and dad's relationship is not going well, then mum might be sitting on a lot of negative feelings. If mum has inherited stuff from her family and is more orientated towards being the negative mother who castrates men, well, then the reason she's marrying her husband is not to love him, it's to torture him. And the relationship, instead of being a relationship, it becomes an imprisonment of the man, where slowly he's being tortured and castrated by the negative mother. Do you see? And then the daughter growing up in that environment naturally takes in the images of the woman's mind, the overpowering animus within the adult woman overpowers the daughter's young animus, and she absorbs the images from mother's animus, the images of her mind, the opinions of her mother manifest in the daughter. Do you see? The mother poisons the child. That's the animus. There's the negative animus. And the animus is one field. It's not two different things. Mother's animus, daughter's animus, they're not two different things. It's one thing. And even your animus has an animus within it, a deeper animus. And a deeper animus. So within the animus, you have, within that field of consciousness, you meet the archetype of maleness. It has a very positive aspect and it has a very negative aspect, just like any archetype. So you have the positive father, God, and you have the negative father, which is probably more Hades or the devil. You see, so that's all available within the animus. So these personalized images of men, Dad is a pathetic man. Dad is not good enough. Dad is disappointing. This criticism of father, it aligns. It's an alignment. It's a position within the archetypal realm of the animus, and it constellates the positive father or the negative father within the archetype, which then flows back downwards into the personal, causing the woman, young woman, child, to be more available to that path in life. You see, now, in approaching all of that, you find, okay, that's going on inside me, or it's going on inside this person. How do I break it down? Well, the first thing you need to recognize is what it is.
The first thing is
say again?
First thing we need to recognize is
this dynamic.
standing.
See, so again, this is knowledge of the dynamic, knowledge of psychology. See, you guys are primarily approaching your work creatively. So in the creative work, you are embodying your feelings, your emotion, the transcendent, and the analytic. Your work has structure, it has form, it has shape. It's full of perception. So the approach is embodying all these different areas of knowledge. But you could work creatively through movement or through voice or through art, and you would never consciously develop knowledge of psychology. You would get knowledge of yourself, and as you get to know yourself, you would start to understand psychology. Do you see? So I'm going to be very rude here now, and I'm going to use Diva as an example. Is this okay, Diva?
Okay.
Okay. So you talk to Diva for half an hour, and very quickly you will realize that she has a brilliant mind. She has a great mind. Her animus is very present within her. And also, when she sits down and moves into the creative place, that animus is deep inside her in all of its potential. She embodies her madness. Do you see the irrational side, the wholeness, is comprised of rational and irrational. So the wholeness, which is inside, manifests in her work. You look at some of the paintings that are there and you go, oh my God. Because they have so much energy in them. Do you see? They speak to you. They reach across the personal boundary and they're speaking collectively into the world. Do you see the difference? Okay, now, as therapists going out into the world, do you have to sit down and read all the books? No, you don't. Of course not. You work according to the principle of good enough. I need a little bit of knowledge of this. I need a little bit of knowledge of that. Because knowledge is the fluidic form of the world. It's where I take things in and break things down. It's how I get to know things through their knowledge, the knowledge of the thing. It's like half digested food. What would represent fully digested food if knowledge is half digested food? What would represent the full digestion of that food?
Awareness, health experience.
Yes, a certain type of awareness. I'm taking knowledge into myself. What happens when awareness enters into my body? It meets with what? The felt experience. As I digest the knowledge, I begin to feel it. I get to know it intimately. I become one with. The piece of toast I ate this morning is now body. It's not a piece of toast any longer. It's turned into body. The cup of tea I had, it's no longer a cup of tea. Now it's entered into me as body. Yes.
Is that where you get the anima interested in the animus? Because she gets the feeling of something knowledge. No.
Yes. Absolutely. The animus and the anima meeting is this conjunctio. It's like these two, the god and the goddess, come together, and the divine child is born.
It feels good.
Now, just going back to anima, animus, there's you and me, man and woman, and we meet at a similar level because I'm a man and you're a woman and you're a body and I'm a body. And then there's anima and animus, which is this deep internal presence. And they are archetypal beings. Now, the animus is more field consciousness, more like magnetism. Whereas the anima manifests as a personified person. She reaches out with a face. And then depending on the man's position in relation to his mother, he will receive the impressions that the anima gives to him. It's like the smelling baking on the air from down the street. Do you see? Suddenly there's a trace. And it's like, what's that? Oh yeah, it's the smell of fresh bread.
Falling in
Yeah.
love.
And that's the anima. There it is. She's so subtle. And then as I'm walking up the street, suddenly I see the woman in the red dress. There she is. Oh, got me. Do you see? And the fantasy is based on my dynamic, and the attraction is based on the anima.
Seduction.
Eros. She's using her magic to pull things together. Do you see? Love is happening. It's pulling me together. It's drawing everything together, creating more matter, making it matter, giving it substance. Do you see? It's so full of eros, and yet it's like a fog. Where is this eros coming from? It's coming from the anima. Oh, there she is. There it is. I want that motorbike. Do you see? I want, desire. Now, the animus would say, I want that dress because I look good in it. Status, ambition. You see, the animus wants to stand alone, wants to stand out, wants to have power over. The animus manifests through the lady's power dynamic. I want to be in charge. I can do it better. Here, let me. Do you see? The animus will stand opposite and against. You know, so you walk into a room and straight away there's a woman amongst all of the women and she's the organizer. What quality in that woman is the organizer? It's the animus. And it begins very fair and carries a tremendous gift. There's so much potential. And then if you challenge its power, it turns against you. And you see another side of the animus. So in that moment of it turning against you, if the relationship between the animus and its owner, the woman, is good, the woman will catch it and will immediately put the animus back inside and won't enter into this sort of conflict of power with you. She will share. She will say, well, what do you think? Show me how you do it. Do you see? There'll be a standing down. And it's going on all the time. Every second. Do you see the male principle, the female principle in all of us? So guys, this is where you got to go out and do your own reading and your own discovering and your own reflecting upon. Do you know what I mean? Nobody can do your work for you. So this is where, you know, follow your interest, find out more, go online. You know, some of the Jungian groups online are very good. The anima in the man, depending on his position with mother in the beginning, it goes through 4 phases. So the anima in the beginning very much reflects mother. So the young boy seeks mother and wants his girlfriend to be like mother or nothing like mother. You know, if mother is more the negative quality, then his girlfriend may appear as nothing like mother, but is modeled against mother. The dynamic of his girlfriend is very much chosen because her outer dynamic is nothing like mother. And then over the next couple of years, she grows into mother and becomes mother. You see, so the little boy, when he's within his mother's, within the orbit of mother, he's not ready really for a serious relationship. And then his masculinity starts to arise, and the predator in him starts to become more available to him. He wants to conquer. He wants to experience his own power. The lion begins to roar within himself, and he develops into a sexual being, puberty. And now he wants to fuck mother. And that story doesn't have a happy ending. Do you see? And he has this dual drive going on. He wants to control mother. He wants to fuck mother. Do you see? And he doesn't see the woman as a woman. He sees her as an object. He sees her as a sexual object or as a piece of jewelry. To see how she can, you know, show him as being a good lion. Do you understand? And then slowly, as he works through all of those phases of his own life, he develops a respect from within himself. As he starts to mature within himself, he starts to respect his own feelings. He starts to find eros within his own masculinity, not through a woman's femininity. He begins to experience his own wholeness. And he no longer projects all of that stuff onto the woman. You see, he owns his own predator. He owns his own beast. And he starts to respect his feelings. He listens to his heart more. And naturally, he begins to respect the woman. And now he is very much available for a relationship. And then what happens in the final stage is that because he has this respect of his heart, and because eros and logos are now joining within him, the anima becomes his muse. He starts to create, and he does his best work. So the man in his life lives towards finding more and more purpose. And the woman in her life lives towards finding more and more meaning. Because the animus, as it integrates into the woman, brings meaning. It brings a deep understanding of things. It brings a wisdom. And she becomes, you know, part of the grandmothers. She holds the feminine wisdom of life itself. She becomes the healer. She becomes the teacher. You see, she has access to the highest within herself through her animus. So guys, that's anima and animus. It's a hugely difficult subject because it's so complicated in all of its different facets. And yet you know, if you can recognize it, there's a couple of really good books available out there, written by women. Marion Woodman is a good woman to read up, or Mary Louise van France.
First,
Marion Woodman. But it's really whatever you're drawn towards, because whatever you look at, you'll absorb something. So going back to anybody, any questions on that, by the way, before I move on from it, the anima animus?
Oh no, but 500,000 pieces of them, but okay. Eventually. I will find
The anima in the man represents his sense of well-being, his feeling of wholeness within himself. You could say it's his heart. It's his connection with life, with joy. Not just life's power, but life's fullness. It creates his own field of enjoyment, his happiness. When she settles down and no longer represents herself as a witch, taunting him and poking at him. Do you see the animus in its unrecognized aspect within the man will completely undermine the man, and he will be unsettled, out of sorts. He won't be happy. He'll try to dominate his feelings as he does others. Do you see? And the domination of others can also be his inferiority complex. So each dynamic has both ends. Do you see? So as we grow older as men and we begin to engage more inwardly, we naturally begin to find eros within ourselves, within our own self. And this deep dynamic, this inner zone of awareness, the transcendent within us, is the relationship with the anima herself, our relationship with life. If I'm living from my heights, well, then I want to replace God. If I'm living with my feet on the ground, well, then what I wish to do is bring God down to earth for the well-being of all. So the qualities of compassion are developed from my ordinary self. When I work at the ground, I become more grounded. When I work at the mountaintop, I become more self-inflated. And I actually lose ground. Do you see? So it really makes sense to be ordinary, to find the quality of ordinariness within your approach. It makes sense in so many different levels. And also your ability to relate to others is much, much enhanced, much better. Because there's a bit of you in me and there's a bit of that person in me, and sure, I'm the same as everybody else. So no matter who walks through the door, it's like, yeah, come on, sit down, we'll have a cup of tea and a chat. So to keep one eye on this task-driven aspect of yourself, when you start becoming task-driven, you know, maybe pause and step back. Say, okay, I just need to approach this from a gentler place, from a more eros point of, an eros position, a gentler place. You know, becoming the perfectionist. That's very logos. Take a step back, take a breath. Okay, so another aspect I just want to mention in this, when we're working at our highest, is that we're posturing. What's the Danish word for posturing?
Oh, can you come again? Posture, or what are you saying?
We're posturing. We're standing in front of the mirror and we're, you know, yeah. We're posturing ourselves towards the thing. Do you see how that is? I'm no longer myself. I've taken in some of the thing in order to be able to work with it, and I've lost myself in it. There's a whole posturing thing going on.
Holding.
I'm trying to control it, trying to find a way of manipulating it. Anyway, that was another word I wanted to use. So these zones of going back to the Gestalt thing, these three zones of awareness, the outer zone, the middle zone, and the inner zone. The outer zone is the world, basically. So I see you. You're within my outer zone of awareness. When I feel you, as I feel you, you're now within my inner zone of awareness. I'm no longer connecting with you on the outside. I'm connecting with you on the inside. My body is sensing you. I'm not using my eyes. I'm using my body. Do you see? So these zones of awareness activate in different parts of us. The inner zone is this range of emotions and feelings down to deep sensations. Or I have a feeling in my gut. I'm feeling uneasy about this. I'm not comfortable. So at the surface, it's my emotions. And yet my emotions are so close to my mind. So the inner zone is meeting the middle zone. And then as my mind experiences the emotion within me, it judges you and it places a value on you according to my emotion. And that feeling, emotion, meets the image, the judgment, and it gets affected by what I've learned, the shoulds and the shouldn'ts. And these three zones of awareness are all blending together. They're all happening at the same time. Like a well-oiled machine. So one of the exercises that we could try on this is very simply, I want you to pair off, just turn to the person next to you, the person closest to you. And we'll just take, say, we'll do this for a minute each way. So I'm going to ask you to name outer awarenesses. Here and now I'm aware of something on the outside. Here and now I'm aware of. And notice yourself in this exercise planning the next awareness. That's not awareness. That's your mind thinking. That's called introspecting. That's organizing. So awareness is something that's happening right now. Right now. So hang on before you start. So the exercise is here and now, you will say this, here and now I'm aware of. Here and now I'm aware of. And then you put in the object of awareness.
Stuart,
Yep.
just repeat. Sorry,
Wait, we just need a minute here because we need to translate.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll get plenty of time.
You like 20 seconds back or 10 seconds back.
Rewind.
Rewind.
Yep. Okay, so the exercise is that with every statement you make, you put in here and now I am aware of. Here and now I am aware of your face. Here and now I'm aware of the room. Do you see external awarenesses? And then after a minute of doing this, we'll switch it over and you'll do 1 minute of internal awareness. Here and now I'm aware of my diaphragm. Here and now I'm aware of something moving down my throat. Here and now I'm aware of my feet. And internal, not of the world. Okay? And just notice how it is, which is easier, external or internal. And then we'll swap over and the other person can do it. So the exercise will take 2 minutes and 2 minutes. Okay, so are you all clear?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll time you. So decide who's going to go first.
So the other person just sits and do nothing while
So
the other person observes.
Yeah, the other person can listen, observe, and if the person starts making external awarenesses when they should be making internal awareness, maybe you could say that's outside.
So I say it out loud. I say to
Oh yeah, just say it to the
okay.
just say it to the person and they go again type thing. Okay. So off you go. Okay, you're moving to internal. Okay, and that's 2 minutes. Okay, so you can swap over now and external awareness for the other person. Off you go. And internal awareness. Okay. That's your 2 minutes. So guys, what was that like?
Interesting.
Stuart, is it an inside or outside observation when I say I feel my hands laying upon each other? Because I feel it inside, I also notice it outside.
Which do you want it to be?
The inside.
Okay, well then you have it as the inside. Until you decide you want it differently, you play with that. Do you see? Okay, guys, which was easier, outside or inside?
Outside.
Yeah, outside. It's interesting, isn't it? What does that show you? What do you become aware of as you recognize the outside was so much easier than the inside?
That is more difficult to feel inside.
Yeah. So a lot of our feeling is not feeling.
Or that it's more
Judge.
difficult to interpret what you are feeling inside.
It takes longer. What do you feel? Yes?
Is that also why we project our inner feelings outside, because it's easier to see them?
Listen to what you said. It's easier to see them. We're bringing feeling into sight, mind. We can judge rather than feel. Jung said the reason most people judge is because thinking is difficult. Well, feeling is also difficult. True feeling is also difficult. So where do we live? If thinking is difficult and feeling is difficult, where do we live?
In the middle.
We take the fast lane. We judge. We don't base our judgment on feelings, and we don't think too much about our judgments. We fly close to the ground, but we don't touch the ground. Do you see? We don't anchor things, yeah?
For me, it was the opposite. I feel like it was much easier to feel on the inside than on the outside. Because on the inside, I know what's going on. On the outside, it feels unsafe because I don't really know if I can trust what I'm sensing on the outside, and there's judgment. But on the inside, I know that this is how it is, so it's more safe.
You speak very passionately. There's a lot of feeling in the way that you communicate. How is that for you?
I don't know. I didn't notice that there was a lot of passion. What I'm saying.
As you bring yourself out into the world, how is that for you?
Well, I'm sweating a lot.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily pleasant.
Yeah, I know. It is, isn't it? It's like that. Yeah. Yeah, do you see where the boundary, how the boundary is? It's like that I live on the inside. It's great, it's safe, it's warm. I know where I stand. And if I bring myself out there, I'm not really too sure how much of me to bring out.
No.
Or where the boundary happens between me and the world. It's so much easier if I stay in the cave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see? It's great. And there's Jung says some of us are thinkers, some of us are feelers, and we go through extroverted positions and introverted positions in our life, and each position has its own consequence.
Yeah.
You see, we are the demonstration of our qualities.
So I am an introverted feeling.
I don't know, are you?
Not right now, but I feel like that's where I like to be.
Yeah.
That's really
Or as you sort of tap your chest here, maybe you rely very much on sensation. You see, maybe your mind is in the earth, and you're like Persephone in Hades. You know, she's deep down. She's the queen of the underworld, the psychic woman, the woman with deep feelings. Do you see? But that type of woman needs to be careful. Otherwise, she loses herself and she does become queen of the underworld. So Psyche or Persephone, in the myth, Zeus said that Persephone should spend 6 months in the upper world and 6 months in the underworld. So to practice coming out, practice, bring yourself out into the world and test your own boundaries and develop those boundaries, develop awareness of your own boundary between you and others, where my feeling sensation ends and their world of feeling and sensation begins, so that I'm not feeling the world, so I don't end up becoming burnt out. Where I can take really good care of myself. Where I'm not duty bound to take care of the other. Do you see? So this really going into deep feeling. Let's see, dropping down into our bodies to discover our aliveness. In Indian teachings, they talk about the Atman. Okay, to drop right down into our bodies. to experience the aliveness of our body. It's nearly like the feeling of nature within me. I'm getting in touch with the 2 million-year-old man inside myself. See, the knowledge of life itself is contained within life itself. Now, then we come to the transcendent. When we leave knowledge behind, where knowledge ends, I go down into my feelings, into my body. I feel the aliveness of my body. That's all knowledge. That's the mind. Okay, but where do I find myself when knowledge ends? Here and now I'm aware of. Here and now I'm aware of. Where's that come from? The suggestion was don't plan it. Notice your mind organizing. Okay, let go of that. Here and now I'm aware of, it just pops up. Pops out of nowhere. Awareness comes out of nowhere. Out of the transcendent. Out of now. Yes.
So what happens when you daydream, when you kind of stare out of the nothing and are aware of absolutely nothing, and just images kind of thing?
Yeah.
Not aware of
So
anything.
James Hillman talks about soul as being imagining. It's a world of imagining. You want to get in touch with your soul, you've got to imagine your soul. Your soul is a place of images, feeling toned images, experiences of life. Your soul is the experience of life. Jung talks about the light of nature, that nature has its own light. See, when the sun shines on the moon, if the sun shines on the moon long enough, the moon will begin to shine. The moon will become alive. Where did life begin on earth? God said, let there be light. Where did life begin on earth? The male principle, light, meeting the female principle, earth, aliveness comes to life. Guys, do you get this? Is it interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. So, knowledge of the transcendent. Where do we find knowledge of the transcendent? Well, it's within depth psychology, and it's within transpersonal psychology, and it's within the teachings of sages. So, you have an experience of the transpersonal, a Kundalini experience, where you touch aliveness. Where does that place me? Well, instantly I'm beyond my body. I'm in the zone of aliveness. I've gone past my body. And yet I'm experiencing it within my body. But it's more than that. The experience of aliveness touches all levels of my being, not just my body. When I get an electric shock, where do I feel it? You stick your finger in the plug hole. Where do you feel it? Yeah, exactly. You shrug your shoulders and it runs up and down your spine and your hair stands up and do you see, and then afterwards you're feeling the jitters. Do you see it affects all aspects of your being. So aliveness is behind every aspect of your being. The transcendent is pervading you, is right through you, is on top of you, underneath you, in front of you, behind you, and all the way through you, underneath you. It's everywhere. So as you sit and you feel down into yourself to find out what it is that wants to manifest creatively with you. What happens if you get in touch with aliveness itself? How big a sheet of paper would you need? Suddenly you draw the cosmos. I draw creation itself. I draw day and night. I draw light and dark. I use shadow as much as I use brightness. Can you imagine the dance? If the dancer is being danced by aliveness, oh my God. Do you see? It's the next level. It's the next zone of awareness. And yet there can be no knowledge written of it other than your experience. It's so personal. And yet it's transpersonal. Okay. So guys, I want to do another exercise with you based on this. Now let's see how we do this. I think we'll do this individually. We won't pair off. I think we just do it as a group. So the exercise is, it's in stages. I'm going to bring you through something and I want you just to breathe, just normal, just be as you are, ordinary awareness. And I notice in yourself if you're changing your position, making yourself more comfortable to enter into ordinary awareness. You know, just notice what ordinary awareness is. Are you now in ordinary awareness or is this heightened awareness? If you go back to ordinary awareness, what would it feel like? Most people in ordinary awareness are not noticing anything so much. But you guys now are no longer within ordinary awareness. You're paying attention. Okay, so just breathe. Notice your ordinary breathing. Breathing in, breathing out. Don't bring any special awareness to it. And notice how unconscious it is. How you're just barely touching your bodies. There's no particular awareness of breath in ordinary breathing. And then I want you to bring awareness to your breathing and how that changes it. Are you aware of your breath or are you aware of your body? And just find out which it is you're aware of. Maybe take a deep breath. And ask yourself, am I aware of the breath, or am I aware of my body? And now I want you to focus on the air. Focus on the air as you inhale and exhale. And I want you to have 3 questions in your mind: how, where, and what, as you focus on the air, as you inhale and as you exhale. So you're slowly inhaling, slowly exhaling. How am I doing this? How am I doing this? Where am I doing it? Is it happening at the tip of my nose? Or is it happening in my chest? Or somewhere else? And what am I doing? What is it that I am doing? And then go back to the feeling of it. And then in your own time, bringing yourself back to ordinary breathing. Notice how you do that. You go back to ordinary breathing. And notice how you come back into the room. And how your awareness is different, if it is. Okay, guys, what was that like? A short little exercise. What was that like? Say again? I think it's because you're away from the microphone. The words are not clear when they reach my end. So calming. Calming, yeah, okay. Yeah. Did you get a sense of difference between ordinary awareness and more focused awareness? Yeah, of course. And did you get a sense of ordinary breathing and the difference between more focused breathing? Yeah. Okay. So as you brought awareness to the breathing, did you become aware of the air or yourself? As you breathe, are you aware of the air or are you aware of your body?
Body, both, air.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Do it right now. What's the difference?
The air is starting from a place in the body. So there's
Mhm.
this that's breathing, and then there is the breath itself.
That's right. Anyone else want to say what the difference is for them? As you are aware of the air and as you're aware of your body.
It's just lighter, not so heavy.
Which is?
The air, it's more light, so less.
Where do you feel the air? Where does your awareness of air happen? Yep,
Your lips and nose.
that's right. And where does your awareness of body, where is that situated?
Your stomach.
More, say again?
Your stomach.
Yeah. More down in the torso, diaphragm. Yeah. Did you know there was two different things going on when you breathe? Awareness of air and awareness of body. It's interesting, isn't it? What does awareness of air bring to you? When you become aware of this area of your nose, the upper lip, and as you draw the air in and you become aware of this point here, just the top of the nose, as it turns around to go back down into your lungs. What does that do to your mind? As you bring awareness to the air entering into your nose, up your nose, around the top of your nose, down.
Focuses the mind.
It makes the
Yeah.
mind relax.
Yeah.
Brings air to the mind.
Okay, when you bring awareness to your diaphragm, rising and falling, is that the same? Does that affect your mind in the same way as awareness of the air entering in through your nose? Are they different sensations? Which one is more useful to you? What qualities does each exercise constellate? What's the quality behind each part of the exercise? Awareness of air, tip of my nose, and awareness of breathing down into my diaphragm, belly. Yeah.
It's like, with the breathing, just by the nostrils, just by the nose, it's like you enter a field in between outer and inner world. So it's more, I don't know, it's more flowing, more,
Okay.
more deep to me, more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're moving to the diaphragm, for what you call it, it's inside the body, it becomes more heavy.
When I breathe down into my diaphragm, it's more heavy. You're speaking for yourself. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Yes, at the back.
I feel when I'm aware up here, the breathing the air, it's a little more going on up here and more focus.
And when I breathe here, it's more like a feeling, or yeah, I don't know exactly, but it's different.
So to get in touch with a world of sensation, which type of breathing is better? To get in touch with the world of sensation, where do you go to? Yeah. And to get in touch with a world of transcendence, where do I find the experience more so of transcendence happening? And I know this is subtle. Here's the clue. I need to heighten my sensation. What am I saying? I need to heighten my sensation. Transcendence heightens my sensation. There's the clue. What's the highest point within the organism that I am? My mind. What does this type of breathing, feeling the air entering into my body do? It focuses, energizes my mind.
Feel alive.
I become more alive within my mind. And yet when I follow the breath down into my body, I become more alive within my body. And when I exhale and I allow the breath to go out, just do it now. Where do I become aware of?
Yeah.
Go on, Søren, say again.
The air
Yeah.
streaming out of my nose.
And
Going
Anyone
back to
else?
the point-
Where,
Going back to
where,
the point where the air enters and where it flows out is the same space in the body, and it's separate from the stream of air
okay.
together.
Yes, at the back, yeah.
and a feeling of getting energized when breathing in and calming when breathing out.
Yes, that's the effect. Okay, so where geographically, where's the location where I feel the exhale? What part of my body begins to vibrate, resonate?
Below the navel.
Okay, let's do it slowly. Breathe in and breathe out and check it for yourself and find out what happens at the back of your throat, at the lower part of the nasal cavity, rising up into your nose, before the air turns around at the top and comes back down your nose. So breathing in, I feel it at the tip of my nose, traveling up my nose, reaching the point at the top of my nose, turning around. And then I feel it going down into my lungs. Hang on. And then as I exhale, yeah, I feel it more rising up in me. And I become aware of it entering into the nasal cavity from my throat and then departing. Okay, at the back.
There's turbulence at the top of the windpipe.
Yes. Which brings awareness to the top of the windpipe. How many people make a sound as they exhale? Like an internal sound of the exhale. Can you hear it in your inner ear? You can. Does the inhale make a sound? Check it out. Is it a different sound? It doesn't. Not the same. Now, I want you to practice a new thing, and it's exhaling more forcefully. It's like a sharp exhale where you, without blowing it out, not that, but where you're deliberately exhaling. So maybe you're breathing in for 3 and you're exhaling for 1.5. You're breathing in for 3, exhaling for 1.5. And practice, find out what is the best length of exhale for you to bring yourself down into that relaxed place. Would it be an exhale of 1.5 or an exhale of 2? What seems to work best? Is it a longer exhale, a faster exhale? What seems to work best? Yeah.
The rhythm of the 3 inhaling and the quick exhale reminds me of the way I sleep. I breathe when I sleep, so I get very tired.
Yeah.
When I sleep, it gets.
So, absolutely, yeah. So, when you see somebody doing a sharp exhale, when you see somebody giving a sharp exhale, if they were to slow that exhale down, would it be more effective? Why are they giving a sharp exhale, and why are they not doing a long exhale in that moment, do you suppose?
Because they need to get rid of the air as fast as possible.
Okay. So that what can begin again? Who takes over?
Next breathing can begin again, and the animals takes over.
So that my mind continues as it was. My state of being can continue as it was within this unconscious process of my body. My body gives the sharp exhale because that's it grabbing that time. That's all it can get. And then the mind, the outer personality in me takes over again quickly and continues on until the next sharp exhale. or sharp inhale. And I'm acting in between the conscious process of my body and the unconscious process of my outer self. I am not aware of my needs. So my body is using those 1 second blowouts as a way of regaining balance quickly. Do you see?
Is it the same when you sign?
Is it?
No, because I just tried it and I feel like I take as much air in as I blow out, but it goes very quickly.
To see, you find out. How are you going to find out for yourself? You're going to test it, you're going to observe it, you're going to chew it over, and you're going to make up your own mind. What better way of doing it?
Asking for help.
What's my best way of helping you?
With helping me. I think, yeah, me helping myself.
Yeah. So guys, what are you becoming aware of within that short exercise around breathing? What have you learned? What are you realizing?
The breathing is important.
Yeah. What else are you realizing?
The meaning of the breath.
Yeah.
How you feel inside and yeah.
The focused breathing brings awareness.
Did you know there was as much to breathing as that? I'm only scraping the surface.
Didn't get that.
Did you know there was as much to your breathing as that? And we're only scraping the surface. Did you see how you can use awareness of the breath, awareness of the air, differently than awareness of the body, and awareness of the body different than awareness of the air? If I want to come down into sensation, or if I want to go more up into my heightening of my sense. Okay, guys, I'm going to change around a bit. What is pranayama?
Pranayama. It's a
Pranayama.
breathing exercise when you're count your breathing, but makes it very slow, and the exhale is longer than the inhale, right?
Yeah. Okay. So what qualities can we expect to develop if we practice these styles of breathing?
Calm my mind.
Is that all?
No. You can change your mind.
Yes. And you see?
Well, I think it releases some things in you when you move around in your the energy and the body, the air when it gets, I don't know.
A whole new level of awareness.
Say again, sorry?
A whole new level of awareness.
A whole new level of awareness, that's right. It can bring me into a whole new level of awareness. A new zone of awareness. A heightened sense of awareness. A heightened awareness of sense. It changes my body. It energizes me with this higher energy. And you could do it when you're standing at the bus stop. You could do it right now. Nobody's business. It's just your business, something that you can do quietly within yourself in this moment. So guys, this as a practice is important. And start to pay attention to, are you aware of the breath or are you aware of your body? It brings the mind down into the body and you then begin to discriminate. There's a quality of discrimination enters into your senses as I start to heighten my sense.
So am I breathing with my body or feeling the air? Or what? Sensing the air?
For you to decide. And you do what is necessary. You do what is required. If I want to get a better mental sense of things, maybe I go more into my nose. Whereas if I want to get a better sense of myself, I go more into my body. You know, you hear people talking about smelling cancer. I can smell the disease inside of you. Or they smell danger. Do you do that? Of course you do. Do you do that? Where do you sense danger first? It depends on the person. It might be low down in your gut. It could be in your nose. So guys, that is a practice, okay? So right, where are we at? How are you doing? We're coming to an end. How are you doing?
Looking forward to practicing.
Yeah. Do you need to move? Or are you all okay? Does anybody need to move? Do you need to stand up or, yeah. Okay, well, take care of yourselves. So, you know, if you need to stand up, stand up. Do whatever you need to do to move. And do you have any questions?
Yeah, you said focus on your body when you breathe is focus on yourself, and focus on the breathing on the air is focus on the, I forgot what exactly you said.
The transcendent, because it heightens your senses. See, you can't, how can you feel aliveness beyond your body? Is there any way of feeling aliveness without using your body?
You dreaming?
You know, you could say, well, I can feel it in my mind. My mind becomes active. Well, your mind is your subtle body. It's also a form of body. So how can I experience this Kundalini within myself? In a measured sort of way, not in a chaotic way. Okay, guys, again, any questions? What do you notice?
That by using my breath, it becomes easier to listen to my body and give it what it needs to feel good and be alive.
Yeah. And how about with the earlier stuff that I did with you around, the high point of consciousness and more the ordinariness within your consciousness and self-inflating and remaining at the level of people? Do you get that? And the zones of awareness, how we have different areas of psychology. There's developmental psychology, there's depth psychology, there's the psychology of the body, there's the psychology of the transcendent.
Well, those are some things that I will have to get more into, because I don't have deep knowledge within those things yet.
Sorry, say again. I'm missing some words just because the microphone is far away.
You're missing words and I'm missing words because I have to get more into those subjects.
Yes. Okay. Okay, guys, you have a few minutes left before you enter into your silence for the day. So any other comments before we finish? Because this is our ending. So is there any comments from me that you want to make, or maybe you're fine?
Yeah, the last one. Yeah, this is the last one. Oh my God. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Applause.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I think we should do that. All right. Last night. This night.
Woo!
You so much, Stuart. That was really, really valuable. Thank you.
You're huge. Oh, you're massive.